This is episode 6 of the Be Happy Abroad podcast. Today, we dive into the exciting and omnipresent topic of establishing and maintaining well-connected relationships. No matter if it's the relationship with your significant other, with your children, with colleagues, or someone you just met. The content of this episode will help you develop and deepen all relationships in your life. Are you ready? Hello and a warm welcome to Be Happy Abroad, how to live a fulfilling and meaningful life as an international. My name is Franziska Luxhoy and I'm your host. Each week we explore proven strategies and insights to help you adapt, connect and thrive abroad, no matter where in the world you are. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite platform so you don't miss out. And without further ado, let's dive right in. Relationships. One of the most important and simultaneously most challenging aspects of a human life. Positive relationships have been proven to be one of the key factors contributing to happiness and well-being. What would a life without good relationships be? You, as internationals, might know. Establishing a new social life and building friendships is one of the main challenges after a move abroad. So, super important to thrive and at the same time so challenging. While well-functioning relationships do contribute to our happiness, troubled and conflicted relationships have the opposite effect. They cause us worry, anger, stress, you name it. And the lack of really healthy relationships in our life, well, they make us feel isolated, lonely, and sad. And it's quite the paradox. In phases of our life where we feel stressed, insecure, are worried already, our fuse also becomes shorter. For many of us, the energy we are able to invest in relationships decreases. Positive, loving, and caring interactions become more difficult, when actually this is just what we need during this period. Before we jump into 2 super effective tools or techniques that will help you create a culture of sharing and understanding in your relationships, let's talk about an essential mindset shift that is helpful for us to make if we want to improve our relationships. Often in our everyday interactions, we come from a transactional mindset. This means that we are thinking in win-lose patterns. Everyone is focused on their own needs and desires and wants to win. Maybe this thought is triggering for you and your first reaction is that this is not the case. You're not in it to win. But think about it. Every conflict, every argument is based on this pattern of approaching interaction, because every conflict or argument is based on wanting to be right and, well, to win. What's the alternative? Being relational. Having a relational approach to interaction where you place higher value on the relationship itself, emphasizing empathy and considering the needs and desires of both partners. Or, from a somewhat softened and everyday perspective, move from a task or solution focus to a relationship focus. And this is definitely something that happens every day, especially in busy lives. We focus on the task at hand instead of the relationship. To make that shift, the loving kindness meditation that I published last week, together with the episode on kindness, will support you as well. So if you haven't tried it, go and give it a try soon. Now, why is this shift so important? It is a prerequisite to focusing on the relationship, even if it is hard in moments where you are so overburdened with practical tasks, errands, and various problems to solve that it seems hard to come from this giving and generous place. It opens your perspective up to see beyond your own imminent needs that are maybe unfulfilled in this stressful phase of your life. But what you gain from being able to make that shift is more support and a strengthened bond with your partner, friends, colleagues, etc. Let's delve into 2 practical tools or approaches that can help you create a culture of sharing and understanding. The first one is about the realms of our experience and how we can constructively use knowledge and awareness about them with the goal of effective communication. When we experience the world around us, any situation and encounter we go through, we do that in 4 different realms: the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual realm. The physical realm is anything that we can take in with our 5 senses: see, hear, smell, taste, touch. The mental realm are our thoughts. The emotional realm, our feelings. The spiritual realm is a bit more fleeting and difficult to grasp. Hence, it also has more interpretations and maybe is also to some degree dependent on your beliefs. Keywords that are mentioned in that context are our soul, energy, spark of life or life force, purpose, connection. The 2 that are most central in relationships are the mental and emotional realm. Think back to a situation where you were maybe stressed, worried, upset, frustrated. Then you shared with your partner, or also with a friend for that matter, and the other person came up with great suggestions on how to solve your situation. How did that make you feel? One situation that comes up for me from my own experience was when I was looking for a job in the Netherlands in 2011-12. It was a frustrating process, sending lots of applications, also getting invited to interviews, but at some stage in the process, it always ended with a rejection. This job search process was all-consuming at the time. I spent most of my time on it, and in every conversation with friends, it came up. And I do know that they asked out of interest and care how it was going. Still, it was frustrating being confronted with it all the time. At that time, I didn't have the mental fitness tools and knowledge that I have now. I would really handle this differently now, both the job search process itself, but also in conversation with friends. Anyway, I opened up towards this one friend, sharing how frustrating it was, still not succeeded in landing a job. And her response was that, well, your qualifications are really good and probably it was just not the right job for you and maybe not the right company fit anyway, and probably something better would show up. Overall, she took this very positive approach and was trying to encourage and comfort me, at the same time also trying to offer solutions. Back to the realms. I was sharing something from an emotional realm and she was responding more from the mental realm. It didn't feel good. It actually made me feel even more like a loser, because what came up for me was, well, if my qualifications are that good, why don't I succeed in landing a job? Why doesn't anyone see and value my qualifications? I guess this is very recognizable for some of you. unfortunately, so many internationals go through it. So, how did I respond? In that moment, in that specific conversation, I played along and said, probably you're right, etc. Also taking this positive perspective. Had I known more consciously about the realms and had been aware of what was happening there, why her response had given me that lump in the throat and sinking feeling, I could have responded, yes, maybe you're right, but right in this moment, I'm just not feeling it. I feel really down and frustrated and just wanted to share my feelings. I'm not looking for a solution right now. It would have enabled me to set boundaries towards my friend and would have made the conversation more pleasant, more constructive, and have increased the chance that I feel good about sharing with her again. It would have contributed to a culture for sharing and understanding between us. The first step here is awareness about your own realms. So, what you can do is observe yourself throughout the next couple of days in different situations and reflect about which realm am I in right now? Am I mostly just taking in cues through my senses, the physical realm? Am I really in my thoughts, analyzing, being solution oriented, goal and task focused, or maybe even overthinking, the mental realm? Am I mostly feeling happy, content, satisfied, fulfilled, or angry, sad, overwhelmed, frustrated? And once more, back to the spiritual realm, this often has to do with an inner knowing, your intuition. So maybe you're coming from that place. And once you have more awareness about it, apply it in conversations, especially if you feel misunderstood and would have liked a different reaction to something you shared with someone. The second tool or technique comes from research into love and marriage with a positive psychology approach. What else? You have probably guessed by now that a lot of my work comes from that angle. So, the interesting finding that the researcher Shelley Gable made was that how couples celebrate the good times is more predictive of the strength and resiliency of the relationship than how they deal with conflict and negative situations. So instead of fixing what's not working, make what's already good even better. Well, that is the general premise of positive psychology. And this is what this tool is going to help you with. Celebrate good moments in a way that really strengthens your bond and increases the resiliency of your relationship. We are going to look at 4 different patterns of response when someone says something to you. The responses can be categorized into destructive or constructive and passive or active. This leaves us with 4 possible combinations. So let's think about a situation. Go back to job searching. A very likely scenario also in an international life. The news you're sharing is, yay, I got invited to an interview. This is so exciting. Let's start with the most negative response patterns, the destructive ones. Passive destructive would be, oh, by the way, we ran out of milk. Are you going to buy milk today or should I? Now, in this theoretic scenario, this random response seems super weird. But if you become more aware of these 4 categories, you will realize that passive destructive responses do happen. So, in addition to not responding to what had been shared verbally, body language and nonverbal communication emphasize the message. Little or no eye contact, indifferent posture, turning away. The active destructive pattern, does respond to what has been said, but in a destructive manner, and this response pattern is actually the one that does most damage to relationships. But are you really sure that would even be a good job for you? Doesn't sound like a perfect fit. Isn't it waste of time to go to this interview? The body language and nonverbal communication that come with it might be a furrowed brow, frowning, frustrated or angry look. It is definitely not a supportive response, and if you shared that kind of news, you will probably also, for example, feel criticized or not good enough. You you can never do anything right. Okay, these two examples both seem a bit extreme, and that was also for illustration purposes, but as said before, you will notice both of these response patterns now that you are aware of them. Now, let's go to the constructive responses. Passive constructive would be, oh, that's good news, accompanied with little or no eye contact and no to very little emotional response. Passive, as the label says. So here you have a reaction to what has been said, and it is affirmative but not very compassionate. The response that we all would like. Our conversation partner makes eye contact, shows a positive emotional response like smiling, laughing, touching, and shows active interest in what we just shared. It is an active, constructive response. Wow, that is great! I know this means a lot to you. I'm so excited for you. And then they might ask questions, for example, when is it? How can I help you prepare? Etc. The example I just used was future-oriented, a sharing about something that is going to happen. The reverse scenario might be that your partner is telling you about the night out with friends. So here the active constructive response could look like asking open questions, inviting your partner to tell more, which lets them relive a positive experience they had and results in a positive interaction as a couple. So this is a very simple hands-on tool. Intuitively, you will understand the impact of it. In busy and stressful times, it can be challenging though. If you're occupied with something else, as in actually occupied, or maybe also just in your mind, it might be hard to focus on giving an active, constructive response. But now that you know about it, you can consciously try to make adaptations. It will go a long way in your relationships. I hope that this episode inspired you to try out some of the ideas I presented and approach your daily interactions from a different perspective. And with an increased awareness of how you are contributing in either a connective or disconnective way. I'd love to hear about your experience, so let me know what you have tried and which difference it made for you. You can send an email to podcast@behappyabroad.com or comment at the bottom of the podcast webpage, behappyabroad.com/6. This was Be Happy Abroad, How to Live a Fulfilling and Meaningful Life as an International. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, leave us a review and share it with your international friends so they too can embark on a journey to fill their life abroad with freedom, joy, love, and happiness.